And now it's sitting in water.
I've been thinking about something someone said to me recently.
Oh, for heaven's sake. They said, you're a people pleaser, let go of the perfectionism.
Great.
My first thought was, cool, it's 8:30 in the morning, are we really psychoanalyzing me now? And my second thought was, they're right. Now, this is not a new revelation. Perfectionism and people pleasing was something that was with me all throughout my former career in theatre, from which I burned out over and over again and have subsequently left. We're coming up to a year since I left the industry. Gardening was my way out. It was a softer place to land, a distraction from all the noise. But now that gardening and plants have become the main focus of my life, that people pleaser and perfectionist mindset has started creeping in again. And I think it might be ruining gardening for me. Just gonna rip it out. Where's my spade? This jade, no, not that one. This jade tree has been neglected so bad. It's been really windy here for the past couple of weeks, which is why this has happened. It fell over. I think this neglect in part has come from a kind of internalized snobbery that I didn't even realize that I had. It's a jade. Everyone has a jade. I feel like I've got this guilt complex about letting this go as well, because there's a story behind this that I think is more important to me than I care to admit. And I think about it every single time I look at this plant. So I got this jade a few years ago. At the time, I was on the hunt for something that was mature, that had like a really thick trunk and was very sculptural as well. Something that I could maybe bonsai into a tree. I go on Facebook Marketplace, I find one that looks promising and I go to pick it up. The woman selling it invites me into her backyard and we get chatting. And in the middle of the conversation, she just casually mentions that she got into plants to help her through depression. And I say, yeah, me too. I don't know if her depression came from grieving a death. I think it might have, but those details I kind of can't remember. And it wasn't some big, deep moment or anything. Like, we didn't go into detail, we didn't overshare. It was just a moment of recognition and connection. And I think about it every single time I look at this plant, not in a very kind of like heavily meditated way, but it's just a moment that comes to the surface every time I see this. Oh, this is dry. Some leaves are dry and some leaves are doing okay. This is a nice color. A little stressed, a little dehydrated, but at least it's not dying. We've got flowers. Look. The thing is, it's not just the jade that's been neglected. I'm not exactly proud to showcase this garden right now, which is crazy because we've been working so hard on it and it is getting better, but it's like I'm exhausted by it. It's a really difficult garden. I mean, part of it is seasonal. It's winter. Stuff isn't growing. There's definitely things that have died, but for the most part, it's just, you know, it's just stuck in that winter limbo. It's the season of just hanging in there. The thing is, it feels like that's what summer was like as well, just hanging in there. Then autumn, when we got dumped with all this rain, the plants are just hanging in there. And now that the temperatures have just dropped and they're not growing, the plants are still just hanging in there. Part of it is that I just also don't have the time to be out in the garden like I want to be. That's just normal, right? Like everyone's got that to some extent. This cactus and succulent table, let me show you this. I put this table here so that we could beautifully display all of our collection, but this is not a spot where they get enough sun. So we've had to scatter our collection in different parts of the house. Like there's some at the front of the house, then, you know, some are up that way and over here. And this table, it's just very big and it's very bulky. Like it's not going to look good anywhere else in the garden. It's not a fit. These aeoniums, look at this. Like, what the heck? I think this is called Crassula Baby's Fantasy. This used to be one of my favorites, but like, look at it now. And that alligator, that looks terrible. This was going fine, but I'm just gonna have to reset it again. Like I did this just a few months ago for this exact same reason, because it dried out at the bottom. This is getting leggy. Look at that. Look at this. That was an aeonium. People used to watch my channel for yes. Again, they're not all necessarily dead, but most of them are they're just hanging in there. What is this? So leggy. There are plants that are still in their original pots from the old house, like this one. Have you ever seen a panda ears flower? And this, and these here too. Others that I bought with really good intentions, but they're just like drying out in their nursery pots. Mayapora and broad pink. Why didn't I just plant it in the ground? Maybe I still can. I don't know. Oh, look, this one, rosemary, drying out at the base. I just haven't really been out here, like properly working on the garden. I'll plant something every time I have to make a video. But you know, life shifts, the focus drifts, and sometimes the garden falls out of view. We moved here 6 months ago and I had this picture in my head of what it would look like by now, and I have to say that this isn't it. This just feels half done. And I know how ridiculous that sounds. I know. It's only been 6 months. And this isn't backyard blitz where we can turn things around in a weekend. We are people with like jobs and lives and we have to pay bills. Like you too, you know how it goes, right? And yet I still feel behind. And I know in my head that we've done so much, all while keeping jobs and paying the rent. I can list all of the things that we've done and be like, yes, that's a great list. You look how much you've done. And at the same time, I feel like there's some invisible standard that I'm not meeting. Like I have to prove in the most obvious way that leaving theatre for gardening really was the best decision. And the only way that could be proven to myself and others is by showing off the most abundant, completed garden. All the weedy trees and bushes would be gone, pathways laid out, arbors built. I was envisioning the kitchen garden exploding with produce. I mean, it's exploding, but not with produce. Blossoming shrubs and cactus, like 2 meters tall. Like that's not even scientifically, biologically possible. Oh yeah, and the garden design course. You remember that I enrolled?
And you know what I've done? I've enrolled in garden design school. I start next week.
Well, I had to put that on pause because life. Somewhere along the way, I forgot why I started gardening in the first place. And it wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about Instagrammable aesthetics. It wasn't about being all-knowing or doing things the right way. It's raining. Okay. I got into plants because they were a lifeline. I've talked about this before. I used to deal with pretty intense anxiety. Some days it was completely debilitating. There were moments when my nervous system would get so overwhelmed, the only thing I could do crying on camera is so boring. I'm glad to report that those days are long gone. But at the time, my little balcony garden was a steady companion when I felt like the world was falling apart, because it gave me something quiet to focus on when my brain was too loud. It helped bring me back into the present when my anxiety was dragging me into the future. I'm not saying that gardening is a magic mental health fix. It's not. I still had to go to therapy and CBT the heck out of all of my thoughts. At that time, I was on anti-anxiety medication to bring my nervous system down from a 20 out of 10 to a 4, but it gave me the most incredible way to be present because it could engage with the senses. You know the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 anxiety coping technique? 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Gardens give you all of that. You can apply it in a really methodical way, like go through the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but also gardening can just give you those things naturally. 5 things you can see. There's the visual component, movement, color, texture, the shapes of the plants, the light, the hardscapes, the surrounding environment, the sky. It's so blue today. 4 things that you can touch. Gardens are a very tactile experience. Yes, you're handling the plants, the soil, you're doing a very hands-on activity. But even just walking through the garden is a tactile experience. The grass or the stones beneath your feet, the breeze on your skin, what does the temperature feel like? 3 things you can hear. The birds, the slight breeze in the trees, someone's lawnmower, yes, it still counts. 2 things you can smell. The garden is full of smells. Sometimes it's the lavender, sometimes it's compost. It still counts. 1 thing you can taste. Don't go around eating anything toxic, but guess what? If you have a kitchen garden, one of the things that I could never understand is people like just picking straight from the garden and then eating it. Like, don't you wash this first? That really is the most flavoursome parsley I've ever had in my life. I thought it was gonna be full of dirt. Oh, that's good. What else can I eat? Oh my God, that's so good. Let me try this coriander. This is, I'm not gonna eat that. That's full of rust. Oops, these are the broad beans. Oh, and there's aphids too. Oh my God, I'm just gonna pick everything. Little Bubba snow pea. Fresh. Oh, I did good. See? It's not so bad. Doesn't look amazing, but there's some good things here. This one's rocket, arugula, for those of you in arugula-speaking countries. Just check there's no bugs. Oh, so peppery. Well, I guess I'm a person who eats straight from the garden bed now. Can that be a thing? Like a kitchen garden mukbang? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. Look what I found. This is like a Banksia thing, like a, I don't know, like a seed pod or something. That one there, that's a Banksia tree. And I think that with some Banksia trees, I don't know if it's all of them, but you actually need fire to regenerate them. I'm not gonna do that. It's not dead. I don't think it's dead, even though everything looks dead. So I don't know, that's gonna be a little research project for me on how to get it going again. The chicken next door is like having a party. Traits of a perfectionist. High personal standards, sets extremely high, often unrealistic goals and expectations for themselves and sometimes for others. Yes. Fear of failure. Strong aversion to making mistakes or falling short of expectations, leading to anxiety and avoidance. That's a hard yes. All or nothing thinking. Viewing situations as either perfect or complete failures with no room for nuance or imperfection. This is exactly what I was talking about, the state of the garden after only 6 months of being here. It's not that I think that the garden looks bad. I think it looks good, but when your brain is in that mode, good isn't enough. All you can keep thinking about is it's not where I want it to be. And that gap, that margin between where it currently is and where I want it to be is packed with feelings of incompetence. Self-criticism, engaging in harsh self-talk and negative evaluation of their own performance, to the point where someone could be complimenting me to my face and I still won't hear it. And it's not that I'm ungrateful for the generous feedback and the comments, and that stuff generally and usually makes me feel very warm and fills me with encouragement and enthusiasm. It's just when you get into this mindset, you cannot hear anything else, like a piece of good feedback or a compliment. It just won't enter your brain because the self-flagellation talk just is so loud it drowns everything out. Obsessive thinking may get caught up in details and spend excessive time correcting minor errors, leading to reduced productivity. Sadly, yes. Comparison to others. Perfectionists often compare themselves to others, leading to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem when they perceive themselves as falling short. Mate, this is my worst one. Like in my head, I know that comparison is the thief of joy. You know how when what you're trying to tell yourself in your head and what you feel in your body is not connecting? Should I delete Instagram? Procrastination, delaying tasks due to fear of not being able to meet their high standards or make mistakes. Hard yes. Need for control, feeling anxious when things are not within their control or when outcomes are uncertain. To an extent, like I've become pretty good at accepting when things are not in my control. The problem is when something is in my control and I fall short of hitting the high standard that I've set for myself. Like I can be absolutely brutal with myself. Defensiveness, becoming defensive when receiving feedback, viewing it as a personal attack rather than a constructive opportunity for improvement. I'm actually really great at asking for and taking feedback. I'll happily go, what did you think? Where did I mess up? How can I make this better? But I'm also super selective about whose feedback I take on. Because opinions and unsolicited advice will always come at you, right? It's like pretty much universal law. If I don't know you and you don't know me and you are not in the trenches doing something similar, I'll be like, shut up. Tying self-worth to achievement, believing that their value as a person is dependent on their accomplishments. You know, for the longest time, I had no idea what my personal values were because I tied so much of my identity to being a theatre director. I wouldn't say that I've completely fallen into that mindset at the moment. Like, I don't hate my garden. I'm not completely burned out by it, but I've been through this enough to recognize the signs early. And I guess I know now how to correct course and shift gears before it's too late. Oh, look, the aloe bloomed. I missed its like real moment. Oh well. So there's a couple of ways that I'm learning to soften my hold on perfectionism, and this is not a one and done, it's a daily practice. Firstly, if I'm under the pump, I will tell myself that done is better than perfect. Keeps things moving for me. Did I get the thing done? Great. Tick. And if it's done and I can move on, it stops me from obsessing about the details in a really counterproductive way. The second thing is that I'll usually have days in the garden that are just for me. No filming, no YouTube. It's my time to be alone and connect with the space. And that's what the garden used to be for me before YouTube. And even as I started filming YouTube, I always made sure that there was like an allocated amount of time where I would just do things without the camera there so that I can get into my own flow. But over the past couple of months, that hasn't really been happening. Like I said earlier, the only time I've been out here is to film, and that's not healthy. The third thing is I'm getting a lot better at catching myself when I do the self-flagellation and offering up a much more compassionate voice in those moments. That doesn't mean that I don't take accountability when I do make a mistake. It's more about kind of like grounding myself in realism. So I will interrupt thoughts that are like, you're nowhere where you wanted to be by now. You've failed at this. You've messed up your life. You've ruined everything. Like real classic catastrophizing thoughts. And I've got a process for challenging those thoughts. It's a very CBT thing to do. So firstly, acknowledging the feeling that I'm having, like saying to myself, the garden and even the house, because I wanted to do so much with the house, the garden and the house are not where you wanted them to be right now. That sucks. It's frustrating, but you've done your best with the time and the resources that you've got. And in fact, you've not totally failed because there's so many things thriving in the garden. It's not a fact that you've messed up your life and you've ruined everything. You've got a job, a house, and a hobby. Why are we so cruel to ourselves? I have almost gotten rid of this jade so many times, but I think what might make me appreciate it more is if I put it in a new pot. So I got this on Marketplace today. Total opposite experience from the jade story, which I think is fine because I think the jade story was the exception. The woman selling it to me comes out of the house and is like, I left it over there for you. She points to the other side of the yard with her cigarette and I'm like, where? She takes me to it. It's bigger than what I thought it would be. Like, it's a big boy and it's also made out of concrete. I mean, that's not her fault. She did put the measurements in the ad and I could see from the pictures what it was made of. But this is something that I'm really terrible at. Like, I can look at what the measurements are on the tape and then I see it in the picture and like my brain isn't matching it up. Anyway, I'm looking at the pot going, whoa. And she can sense that I'm freaking out. So she goes, it's not that heavy. It is so heavy. So she disappears into the house. I don't have Tim with me. Normally, if I'm by myself, people will help. You can see that I'm not the most burly, well-built person. She might not have been able to physically help, but like, whatever, that's fine. And I'm like picking this up and every 2 steps I have to put it down because like I can't. Pick it up, take 2 steps, put it down. Pick it up, take 2 steps, put it down. Screw that. I end up dragging it across her yard to the car. When I get to the car, I squat the deepest squat and I am like bracing everything. I held my breath and I heaved this thing into the car. I might have a hernia. Oh, look, there's Chook. Hey, little one. Yeah, Chook's back. We didn't see you for a while there, did we? Anyway, I'm gonna pot this plant up here because once this plant is in this pot, no one's gonna be able to move it. Ooh, this is already heavy. Is that where I want it? Maybe. I don't like this angle. Ow, I really think I did something to my wrist. I'm actually going to put these in there. This is like chopped up pool noodle, and that way I don't have to totally fill up the whole thing with soil. I have no idea if it's going to make a difference, but we're going to try. I am going to say this because I think I need the reminder, but surely someone else out there needs to hear this as well. I think gardens are the most interesting when they reflect who we are becoming, not just what we know. Maybe like that, or is that the front? It's easy to get caught up in one, the aesthetics, and two, the right way to do things, the techniques, the terminology, the expert advice, and fine, all of that has a place. But what I think is becoming more important to me is a garden that says something about who we are. One that can show us how we carry ourselves through the messier parts of life, how we respond to failure, what we pay attention to, what we make space for, and the memories we want to hold on to. A garden can hold the story of how you've grown, not just be a portfolio of achievements. You don't have to have all the answers to have a beautiful garden, and maybe it's not so much as having a beautiful garden as it is a meaningful one. You know what? I'm actually really glad that I didn't get rid of this plant. I think I need to keep it. Not because it's rare or it's impressive, but because it reminds me of that little exchange with that woman. That moment wasn't about being right or knowing all the things. It was about gardening as a way to connect with other people and also with yourself. The most meaningful spaces come from feeling your way through, planting what you're drawn to, and letting the landscape evolve as you do. Even in the seasons where things are just hanging in there, like we do. You know what? This is way too small for this pot, and I don't care.